Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. I'm your host, Scott Morgan, off the Motor City Mad Mouth. I'll get to the topics, introduce the crew, and then we'll be ready to roll. First of all, we're going to be talking about Justin Jefferson's record-setting contract. Second, we're going to be talking about CBS shaking up the NFL Today crew. That's interesting. And the third thing we're going to talk about will Antonio Brown's character flaws prevent him from getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And everybody on the crew will have their own parting shot. Get it off your chest, whatever the case may be. That said, let me get to the crew, then we'll get to the show. Welcome back, Bo.
How's it going? Good to see you guys.
Great to see you as always. Mel Farr Jr., always a pleasure.
How's it going, guys?
All right, you can wave that hand and chomp down whatever you're eating for dinner. That's okay. A guy can multitask. How you doing? You doing good, Mel? All right.
I'm doing good.
And last but not least, Travis Sherlock Holmes. Okay, I learned a lot of things here before that definitely made him look like Sherlock Holmes, which is good stuff. All right, with that said, let's get to it. According to Andrew Brandt, Justin Jefferson, who just recently signed a record non-quarterback deal, which is a 4-year contract worth 140 million, 110 of that guaranteed, will make 35 million per year. And the Green Bay Packers 10 wide receivers will make a combined 12 million. The biggest beneficiary is likely to be rookie Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy, the 16th overall pick from Michigan. Now, to show you how shrewd this guy really is, he said earlier this year that his health is way more important than winning fantasy football games. He doesn't care if you sell your clubs. Hey, you know what? When you strike a contract like this, you don't care about fantasy games. Good for Justin Jefferson. So, Justin, more power to you. Use it well. Just don't blow it. All right, Bo, what are your takes on Mr. Justin Jefferson?
I mean, you knew it was the kind of contract he was going to get. The signing number is pretty crazy. It's like 80 plus is what he's getting at signing, which is insane to me. But now you look at what CeeDee Lamb and Chase, like what are those things going to look like? Because this resets the market. Those guys are top 5 receivers too. So it's going to be interesting to watch. They're not going to be paying a quarterback, so this is the time they can pay other spots.
All right, Mel.
It's I still don't understand why they like to pay these receivers all that money for, catching the ball, touching the ball 6.5 times a game. It tells you where the league is heading, but it just doesn't make sense to me to pay that type of money to that position when you only affect the game so little. Yeah, I mean, they can make big plays. Yeah, I mean, they might catch touchdowns, but they just don't touch the ball enough for me to justify giving them that type of money. And their position is so dependent upon somebody being able to get the ball to them. So if you don't have somebody who is competent and skilled to be able to get the ball to them, then you just have you have a high price, paperweight. It's just, I don't understand it. Hey, look, I'm all for everybody getting their money. I've said that many a times. I'm all for these guys getting their money. So if somebody's stupid enough to pay him that kind of money, I'm stupid enough to take it. There's no question about it. But I still don't understand the fascination with paying a person. That's what he's averaging, about 6.5 touches a game, catches a game.
Right.
I don't understand paying that kind of money. But I'm, look, I'm happy. I'm happy for him. God bless him.
All right, Candy, please put the chat up with Robert Ordell. He makes an excellent point. CeeDee Lamb gets paid one more penny than Jefferson. Okay, he can brag as he has the highest paid wide receiver. Yeah, I think it's definitely worth laughing. Travis Holmes, I think Robert's on to something here.
Oh, and the guarantee signing is 88.7. So as soon as he signs, never takes the field, 88.7 mil is guaranteed.
I mean, we commented on this last week a little. At least we touched on it a little bit. I think there is I want to say 0% chance, but just because we're talking about Jerry Jones, I'll say 1% chance that happens. I just don't see them like who's gonna pay him? The Cowboys? No, This
Yeah,
year,
right.
nah, that ain't happening. So basically just because of that, I don't see that happening, and I don't think there's an argument to be made that CD is better than Justin. So just based on that, yeah, being signed in the same offseason, I just don't see it. But as far as JJ, hey, it's a good situation for him. I mean, congratulations, get the bag. You're in Minnesota, where we always say, Kirk Cousins was the legend at the bank, and Justin Jefferson, he's following right underneath that, following his mentor, becoming a legend at the bank, kind of setting a new standard. It
Right.
is, but you got a rookie quarterback, but what kind of I'm in slight agreement with what Mel was saying earlier. Not because Justin's not worth it, because he truly does change the way a defense has the game plan against this team, and he actually makes it easier for them to be able to run the ball because you're probably going to have to double him in most situations. But paying him all that money is kind of wild when you think about the fact that this is more likely than not 500 to maybe a game above 500 team. That's realistically what this is going to be. Just because they're not paying someone else or most anyone else on the offense, you kind of have to do it because you just don't trade your talent. I mean, you've seen the whole Christian McCaffrey versus
Right.
the whole Christian McCaffrey trade and how that ended up for the Panthers. The
Right.
Jay Moore versus how that ended up for the Panthers. You don't trade away your guys, and he is the guy of guys as far as the wide receivers are concerned. So you kind of have to do it. It sucks, but that's the price.
Well,
Oh, is there
it's
something you
funny
want to
that you
add?
mentioned
Yeah.
it's
Go
funny
ahead.
that you mentioned that, because what's really wild about it is they extended CMC earlier today, 2-year, $19 million. You
Yeah.
mean to tell me Justin Jefferson is more value than a CMC to that team?
Right.
Because I don't think so. CMC is involved in every play.
Wait, was it 19 million? I thought it was 19 million per year. Am I mistaken?
It's 2 years, 38 million.
19 of it is guaranteed, I think is what it was.
Ah, gotcha. That's a whole nother
Yeah.
conversation. Rough, man. Freaking.
Well, you know what, Mel? I was waiting for you, and Candy actually brought it up that you were going to mention why running backs don't get paid as much money as they should, being a former running back yourself, because you're right on Jefferson and wide receivers in general. If you're
Yeah.
catching the ball 6, 7 times, you're gobbling yards at a record pace. So here, Candy's going to chime in and give you the
Yeah, I mean, that was my
information there.
parting shot. You guys blown it.
Oh, well, you know what? Say it again anyway.
I wasn't
All
even
right.
trying to talk
All
about
right.
it. I just touched on it.
It's all right. No, well, Bo actually brought it up. It's okay.
Well, let's put it this way. It's all great minds
Okay, there we
think
go.
alike.
19 mil a year. My bad.
All right, go ahead. Let's put that information up there.
But really, when you look at it, okay, it's 19 million a year new money. But when you look at it with what he's getting paid right now, it's going to average about 15 million, which is something that they can stomach.
Yeah.
Something that they can justify. Now, if he had, raised the bar up to 19 million a year for running backs, I mean, owners are probably, on the phone getting ready to call, calling San Francisco, talking about, what are you guys doing? You're killing me over here.
I'm sure the comments are too. So McCaffrey will receive an extra $8 million on top of what he's scheduled to make in the first 2 years of the extension, as well as an extra $24 million in guarantees per Schefter. And let's see, Candy's initial thing was the extension has an average value of 19 million. Sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter. The new deal ties McCaffrey to the 49ers through 2027. More power to him. All right, on to Robert Wardell. I like this one. Also, since the NFL wants big scores and air attacks, running backs become less valuable than receivers. Robert, all I can say about that comment is you hit a bullseye, period. That's all.
I think he hit a bullseye on almost. I agree with 95% of that. But that last line, running backs become less valuable.
Yeah, no.
Not the top running backs.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah, the top running backs, the ones that are involved in the passing game,
right,
like a CMC.
Exactly.
Nah, man, that dude is not less valuable. And there's only a handful of those guys though, but that's the problem.
Yep.
Well, one was free to go find a new team this offseason.
Who's that?
Who was like who I think has led the team or led the team in receiving? Saquon Barkley.
Oh yeah, but he has injury issues. But yeah, I got you. That's still fair though.
McCaffrey's never been hurt.
He definitely has.
He didn't. He wasn't hurt lately, and I guess in earning that extension. That's where I'm at.
Keep playing.
Well, Mel, if you're going to go down the Saquon Barkley route, I hate to tell you this, why don't we throw DeAndre Swift into the conversation? This guy's been busted up too, and he's still finding a way to get paid. Now the Bears paid him, so
Yeah,
Saquon
DeAndre would just get nicked up.
Yeah.
yeah,
Saquon
but missing a fair share amount of games though.
Yeah, because he was nicked up. He'd be nicked up, kind of like Christian McCaffrey. Christian would get nicked up. He didn't get, he wouldn't have serious injuries. He'd get nicked up. Saquon, we know, had a major. He had a major.
Oh yeah, so you're making my argument now. Right after beating me at the argument, he is making my argument. All right, I see you, Mel.
Right.
Wonder how many parting shots are
Well, because he was saying DeAndre was injury prone. There's a difference.
Nah, I got you.
But I understand what you're saying, though. But we'll get to it later.
Yeah,
from a different angle.
I'm only wondering now because you guys have me really intrigued there. How many parting shots are done before they get there, and you guys have to think of a few on your feet later. But you know what? That's what makes the show great with you guys. It really is. We can talk and back and forth, and I got some quick thinkers that are going to, all right, that one's gone, this one's gone, this one's gone. And the best part about it is you have like 20 to 30 minutes to go out there and figure out a new one. So before we go into the next topic, though, we need Candy Ambling back on. She knows what she has to do. Right, Candy? Go ahead. Go to it.
So if you see that red subscribe button, hit it, like us, share us with all your friends and family. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday nights, you just never know what we're going to be talking about. And Scott has a new show, the Motor City Madmouth on nofilter.net. He had Mel on as a guest 2 weeks ago. He had Coach Bono last week. Tomorrow, he has Scott, who is it?
Jack Perconte.
There we go. If you like to listen to the audio version of our show, you can find it wherever you get your podcast, whether it be iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, Castbox, Deezer, you name it. It's there. You can also go and grab Scott's book. He wrote a book. Talks about the 40 plus years in the industry, how it's changed. Lessons from the microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. It's available on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and Google. We are working on the audio version, so anybody that's interested, we are working on it. We know you want it. We will get it to you, and we will let you know as soon as it is available. Back to you, Scott.
All right. Well, I want to go to Robert Wardell. This guy is unbelievable. And, Robert, I will say this much. Okay, the answer to your own question is the answer to your own question because you know the history behind what took place last night on the network. So great stuff, Robert. I'm going to try to be polite and learn from a running back where I know how to do my jukes and my jives and all that business to look for an hole. But yeah, you could say that, Robert, and I won't disagree with what you're putting out there. Is that fair enough? So, so anyways, and I definitely don't have the moves of a running back, but Robert's great. One of these days, Bo, we got to get him on here with us. All right.
Yeah. In fact, he's been on with me on my Hawk Talk show on Fridays. So,
good. Well, see what you can do to get him on here. I would really like to have Robert Wardell be able to include him in a conversation every so often. So yeah. I love the crew we have, but you know what? Robert is very loyal to you and he's been loyal to me, and Robert can't appreciate you more than enough. Okay. So with that said, next topic should probably be a little easier one until we have the next one and the parting shots. CBS shakes up the NFL today. Boomer Esiason and Phil Simms out, Matt Ryan in. I still wish Brent Musburger was on the show, but he's too old. But nevertheless, Bo, what are your thoughts about the changes for CBS?
I mean, they're just going with some younger guys, right? Like a lot of the demo that they're trying to hit didn't see those guys play at this point. So, which makes me feel super old, but here we are. So yeah, I mean, a lot of these shakeups are going to happen. Not just that, but they're finding talent that's cheaper, and it falls right in line with all of the networks canceling shows, getting rid of on-air talent, especially the more expensive on-air talent. Right. So yeah, I mean, this just kind of falls in line with a lot of what we've seen this offseason.
Mal.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Bo on that. Although, I enjoyed Phil's insight. Boomer, I enjoyed his insight. Matt Ryan's going to come from a different perspective, a little bit fresher, a little bit newer as
Right.
far as the play calling. I mean, these guys didn't play in these types of systems that they're
Right.
playing right now. They played in more traditional systems when they were running the football a
Right.
lot more.
Right.
But so now, you have somebody who's coming in who's not very far removed from the game and can talk a language that that the players are talking now, and that the fans would probably be interested in hearing now versus what Boomer and Phil were talking about. But they're great at doing what they did. They're true professionals. And like Bo said, they're looking for cheaper talent. Those guys are a little long in the tooth. I'm sure they're expensive. But hey, I'm sure they're saying don't shed any tears for them. They'll be straight. They're gonna be all right. They might probably start a podcast if they haven't already done it. There's other avenues if they want to continue to stay in the media broadcasting arena that that they can scratch that itch, so to say.
What do you think, Trav?
Right. It's the ongoing, I don't know, commentator wars, we'll call it.
Right.
I mean, all the networks are kind of getting into it, whether it's, whether it's Tony Romo or you're talking Tom Brady, you're talking like all these former football guys getting into the booths. And unfortunately, there's limited spots, there's limited roles, there's limited networks even across the board. So this is just, unfortunately, the end result. I mean, this is kind of where we're going. That was a good crew at the end of the day, Boomer and Phil, but it was going to have to end eventually just because it is basically like an arms race. And well, you had Matt Ryan, he was doing pretty well at CBS, and they had an opportunity to do that. I can understand why you do it, because everybody and their mama gonna be looking at these other networks to try to see what the new face is talking about. Because this is what happens every year, and this is just their way of getting that new talent. They're Netflix right now. They're just trying to find that new program and get it on the scene and get the eyes on them, and hopefully they stay. It is
Well,
what it
here's
is.
what happened. Okay, number one, once CBS got wind and everybody else got wind that Matt Ryan was now officially retired, wasn't going to play,
Mhm.
that's when you move him in. Okay. And number two, about Boomer Esiason, he's popular in New York. He's got his own radio show. So I don't
Right.
think he's going to sweat over losing it. And Phil Simms, he's been doing it a long time. So Phil will be fine. So, yeah, I think that once CBS knew that Ryan was done, then you put him in there, and that's a lot easier. All right, let's go ahead and acknowledge the chat room. Free Firebird rocking show tonight, guys. Thank you so much, Heather Freebird. I love Dusty Braden. What's up, guys? You are up, Dusty. Thanks for joining us tonight. So that's what you've got. Phil Simms has done a great job for so many years. He's probably earned a fair share of money where he doesn't mind letting up a little bit. And where Boomer, he's popular in New York anyways. I know he's heavily involved out there. And he did play for the New York Jets, if I remember correctly, right? Well, I think for a little bit of time. So but he's been popular out in the metropolitan New York area anyhow. So they're fine. There's no question about that. So yeah, hi Jesse. Glad to see you here tonight. So there you have it. So yeah, I think CBS was fine. They just waited for Ryan to finally say enough is enough. I'm done. And there you go. All right, finally, and then we go to parting shots. Will Antonio Brown's character flaws prevent him from getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? During his 12-year career, he earned over $80 million. The seven-time Pro Bowler has filed for bankruptcy. I'm not going into the rest of his financial problems at all. I really prefer to keep that out. But some of his flamboyancy and his stops and his ability to burn bridges is where I struggle with in his social media. I mean, the guy is, to me, Antonio Brown, talent-wise, he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Will character keep him out, especially with this day and age of voters? I really do believe it will over him because he's done so many things, but that's just one person's opinion. Bo, go for it.
I mean, the odds are high. Had he actually played out the rest of the seasons that he had contracts for, I'd say he would have been a shoo-in. But the stats that he has, he was dominant enough, he'll be in the conversation. But like we all know, stats aren't what get you in, right? It's a voting game. And he did enough crazy stuff and has continued to do enough crazy stuff that it'll be hard for him to get those votes. Do I think he gets there? not a first ballot, that's for sure. I mean, when you see off the field stuff, keep T.O. out, right? And he played his heart out. Like, there was no question when he stepped on the field, he was that dude. He wanted to play every down of every game. You never question that. When AB stepped on the field, he might be there all day. You really don't know. If he didn't get the ball enough, he'd pout. Like, and then, he sends up the deuces and leaves during the middle of a game. I mean, being as it's a voting game, it'll be tough. I could see him missing it.
I got to say one thing about Antonio Brown. I don't talk about fantasy football much, but when my sister-in-law, we were all playing in the family league doing this stuff, she had Antonio Brown. There's no way my sister-in-law, who knows nothing about football, should beat me because this guy's crushing me. I mean, it pained me. Do I have an ego because I know a lot more than her? You bet. But when Antonio Brown is stopping me, that was a little hard for me to swallow. It really was.
Supreme talent.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he really is.
Supreme talent, but supreme talent.
Yeah, I guess my ego doesn't allow that kind of thing. But you're right. He is a great talent. It's just the only thing that you wonder is what else could have happened. Who knows? But turn over to Mel.
I think what's going to keep him out is you don't know what he's going to say at a Hall of Fame acceptance speech. I think that's
that's why he has to get in. That's why he has to get in, because it's just nothing but crazy coming out of his face.
I don't think anybody wants to hear all that. Nobody wants to hear whatever he has coming out of his mouth. Nobody wants to hear business is booming, baby, or whatever it is that he's talking about. Nobody wants to hear all of that. I think that more so than his antics will keep him out. And it'll keep him out of the conversation. I mean, he won't even become a finalist. It's going to be a minute before he's able to get in, I believe. Does he have Hall of Fame numbers? Is he Hall of Fame worthy? Absolutely. But his antics and not knowing what he's going to say. I mean, just look what he was talking about. I mean, he might look what he said about Caitlin Clark. I mean, come on. I mean, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't know. You have no idea what's going to come out of his mouth. And I can tell you, me for one, I don't want to hear nothing he has to say because he doesn't say anything. Doesn't have of any value, of any importance, or it have any meaning. And so I don't want to hear anything he has to say.
Oh man.
Well, before you get
drive our shows, though.
What's that?
Yeah, well,
That would
that's true.
absolutely drive our shows. Just the craziness that would come out would drive content for weeks.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you something funny now that you guys all make really great points. But here's the thing, okay? Terrell Owens belonged in there sooner too, but the only thing that kept Terrell from getting in a little earlier is there were a lot of great wide receivers there. Otherwise, if he didn't have so many in a short period of time, he gets in a little quicker. But
no, he should have been in. I mean, Terrell Owens. I mean, his number is only second to like Jerry Rice. So,
but I think he got in on the fourth attempt, and he should have gotten in there on the first or second.
He should have gotten in the first attempt. But I'm saying I mean, his numbers, I believe, are only second to Jerry Rice's. I mean, he had all the numbers.
Right, but the problem is, I think he had to wait till the fourth year, and that's why he didn't show up and decided to do it over at his alma mater.
No, he waited to the fourth years because they didn't vote him in. They didn't feel that he.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
people thought he was a bad teammate. They thought he was this.
Right.
They didn't like some of his antics. That's the reason why he didn't get in on the first go around. But his numbers were Hall of Fame worthy, first ballot Hall of Fame worthy.
Well, I agree. Yeah. All right. So we'll go to Robert Wardell. I want to hear his diarrhea of the mouth. I'm with Bo. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly that's my opinion, man. I'm in agreement with the fact, like CT ESPN, like I'm here for it all day. And I know why the Shield wouldn't be. Because they're here to protect the brand, and that's why the Hall of Fame is so much harder, and it's been so much harder since like 2008 to 2010 range when they started actually putting character in the conversations. Because before that, you have a lot of guys who have a lot of character concerns. That it was never about that. It was about you got guys who abused women and did drugs and everything else publicly, and that wasn't part of the conversation. But we aren't having. Again, if Antonio Bryant was playing in the 90s, hey man, that's chalk it up to the game. But
if you're going to make that point, then Lawrence Taylor shouldn't be in there either. But he got in there. Actually, that was at Super Bowl 33 when he was announced. Yeah, but let's not kid yourself. Lawrence Taylor to me is unquestionably, because of ability, belongs in there, and he is. So yeah, I think
Right.
character. But every one of you guys make, to me, great points. There's no way any of your points are bad. They just aren't. Okay. But let me tell you, the toughest Hall of Fame to get into unquestionably is baseball. When you look at the amount of members that you have in baseball compared to even football, at least you're going to get 4 or 5 every year. With baseball, if you get 2 or 3 or maybe 4, you're having a great, great year. So let's go back to the chat room. Robert Wardell is on a roll. The Ben Raplesberger, I like that. See, got a couple of nicknames out there. Can get in. Character is not an issue. You know what? I'll just say, great minds think alike, Robert, and that's where I'm going to end it. You guys can add to this if you want to. But so Travis, I mean, so when we go back to Brown, so do you think that he's going to wait a while too?
I don't think he's ever going to get in. We're in a
Oh,
different.
that means he's waiting a
No. I
while.
mean,
A
no,
long while.
yeah. I don't think. I think he will cease to be on this earth and not be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He can get in then. I think they let him in then because they don't have to
yeah.
worry about him talking.
Seriously,
Yeah, they'll let him in after death and,
Yeah.
and give it to
No,
the estate. Okay.
That's probably the only way it gets in, because even though I think it would be interesting as for us that do this every week, the NFL doesn't want any of that.
It's just, I mean, it's a popularity contest that is
Yep.
that is handled by the media, and he was not great with the media. He was great for the media, but he was not
Yes.
great with the media, and that's different. That's like I don't know, man. Like it's, but as much as I say that though, at the same time, he's like Antonio Brown's like Black Trump. Like it that can be a very polarizing, but also can be a very popular dude if you say the right things, because he is ridiculous. He's a
But I
wild
don't
boy.
want to hear anything Trump has to say either because you don't know what's going to come out of his mouth.
I'm simply saying he's a wild boy, and and that's a polarizing. And some people love to see that just because it's good for their pockets. So I can understand that too. Like I don't know. That's actually curious. Some people in that room for the Hall of Fame might actually vote for him just because of that.
No way, because it's all media guys. There's
Well,
no way, right? Like the voters are
media guys nominate him, right? But then there's a group of football people, or I mean, media guys do the nominations. I don't know. Then the committee
they do the sales.
Committee is made up of who? I don't know. I'm asking.
Like who gets votes? You mean?
Yeah, who actually votes? Who actually votes on them? I mean, I know media guys nominate them.
There's
But
media
who-
guys.
Well, actually, you know what? Well, let me answer that.
the media guys
Let
vote.
me answer that question for you because I've been there. Okay, yeah, the media does, but you know the way it works a little bit though, you know, and I've seen it happen in many instances. I've been to 4 of these things. Sometimes media members from markets will do each other favors and every year to get their guy in, and that's just how it works. It's like let's work together, but my guy has to get in, blah blah blah, and then they ultimately get in. It depends on who's eligible there. All right, let's go back to the chat room. Okay, kneecap biting. I'm assuming that the individual for whom that you're referring to me is Justin Jefferson. If that's the case, yeah, you're dead on. And again, Robert Wardell, that is awesome, Travis. And then obviously, let's go back to kneecap again. Christian McCaffrey got paid 49ers 2 year, 39 million, 19 million. Yeah, we know that, but okay, Christian McCaffrey deserved to get his money as well. So I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, kneecap, that you are referring to Justin Jefferson. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, okay, the way it is, the way the voting is, you have 32 teams, right? And you have obviously 1 or 2 voting members from or whatever they have voting, and they just there's one guy, I'm trying to remember the one that actually was oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. He was a Kansas City Chief that got in there posthumously is what it was. Oh gosh.
Kansas City Chief.
Yeah, let's help me out a little bit on this one. It'll probably come back to me, but nevertheless, he ends up getting in, and I was glad that he did. I can't remember, but there was a Kansas City Chief guy that got in posthumously, and I know that there was a little bit of talk amongst everybody. I was just glad to see it happen. So great stuff. I knew this was going to be a lightning rod conversation, and that's why we're talking about it. All right, back to Wardell, who's on a first class roll. Okay, let's go to how is his relationship with Brady. I feel like Brady could make or break AB's baby. Yeah, well, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, let's face it. You can burn bridges in this business, but you don't burn them with Tom Brady. I don't think that anybody should ever try to burn bridges if you can conceivably avoid it. But some people aren't, that's just how this business goes.
I recall Brady speaking on an interview. It might have been less than a year ago, talking about his relationship with AB, like that he reached out to him and they had a conversation and just talked and things. So it sounds like they have a solid relationship even to this day. Well, again, that was about a year ago.
Right.
I don't know
Well,
about that.
well, and you know what? His bankruptcy is not going to sit here and look well either the way it is right now because you burn so many bridges, you don't complete seasons, right? All of a sudden, you're losing a lot of money, and you find yourself in a predicament like the one that he's in. So, the way I look at it with AB is he's had a lot of opportunities, and unfortunately, it's just a shame because who knows how many other uh, how he would have fared. And yes, Candy, thank you very much. Derek Thomas is the name. She looked it up for me, and thanks, Candy. I appreciate that. Derek Thomas, I remember he's a guy that actually belonged in there, and it worked out. And I was pulling for Derek to get in. I really was. Had a really good.
Well, Derek,
thanks,
what
Candy.
they wanted to do is they wanted to get him in before I think it's 5 years is what it was, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because I think he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, we know what his numbers were. I mean, I played against him. I know what kind of player he was. But I think they were trying to get him in early, if I'm not mistaken. And then there were some things, about the kids and baby mamas, stuff like that came out. That that didn't have anything to do with kind of. I mean, maybe it had to do with the kind of person he is. I don't know.
Well,
He wasn't a bad person. He just, he had a Peter problem. That's all.
He was a very loving guy.
And he wanted to spread his love around.
He wanted to,
but I would rather let him spread his love around instead of some of the other things that people are doing. And I'm trying to be diplomatic about
Somebody's
it.
got to forcing their love around.
Yeah, no, I've seen a few like that over the days, Mel. In fact, I got to tell you guys a crazy story.
I just got cut from the Commanders.
You want to hear a crazy story? I'll tell you a really crazy story. When the Detroit Pistons were winning their championships during the bad boy era, I can't believe I'm actually saying this on a football show, but I'm going to do it anyways. Alvin Robertson, remember him, the player for the Pistons, the guard? His girlfriend was hitting on me at a restaurant and thinking, I don't want to get in the way of all this player media kind of thing where his girlfriend wanted to go out with me. I told the woman, I'm really flattered. And we had a couple of drinks that night. It was kind of neat, but, it's cool stuff. When an athlete's other half starts, flirting with me at my friend's restaurant. But, but anyway.
Depends on who the athlete is because there's a couple of them I don't think I'd want to find out.
Exactly. And that's why I took I took the easy way out. We had a few drinks. We had a lot of fun. We had a few memories at the bar. And then that was kind of where it's at. All right. So back to kneecap fighting. He's throwing some numbers out there. I'll let you guys digest on them a little bit. Go to parting shots. The show is going real well. Enjoy the participation out there with a lot of folks tuning into the show. Much appreciated. So that Candy goes ahead and put all those stats up there. For those of you that are on YouTube, you can see it. For those of you that haven't subscribed, this is a great reason why you should do it. So you can catch all these incredible comments from everybody in the chat room as well. We appreciate the participation immensely. So any closing thoughts about Antonio Brown?
Yeah, I still think he needs to get his own podcast. That's just me.
He
may not get into the Hall of Fame, but hey, he'll get into the Hall of Fame for the media because that boy say some crazy stuff. He's gonna stay viral.
Does he have a podcast? Is his media conglomerate?
I mean, he shouldn't because he'll get sued.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. All right. So kneecap AB burnt the bridge with Brady when he skipped off the field in New York versus the Jets. There you go. Thanks for clarification on that. But I'll tell you, Draymond Green certainly is doing pretty well with his. I got to give him that much. So some of these guys have what it takes. AB, you're right. He's a lawsuit waiting to happen. So with that said, now we are going to go to parting shots. Go ahead, Bo. You can lead off, please.
Oh, okay. So the UFL headed into their postseason play, and it's it's becoming something good for the NFL, right? Like they wanted to try out different rules, things like that with that league, but they have 111 players going to hit mini camps for the NFL coming out of this season. So it gives a lot of these players a second chance to try and get seen by NFL teams, and 111 of them getting that shot this time around.
Excellent. All right, and one thing here, let's put this comment up real quick, then we'll turn it over to Mel. Decap Fighting's final comment of the night. Have a great night, guys. Going to eat dinner. I think AB needs a straight jacket. His mind has been lost. It's a perfect head, boy. I was waiting for that to come out. And all right, Decap, thanks for putting that in there.
What was the question?
Which one?
The last one that you just had Bo talking about.
Oh, this was my parting shot. I was just talking
Oh,
about.
shot. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay. What's yours?
Well, mine was, you guys kind of took all the air out of it.
Well, why don't you put the air back in it?
Well, yeah, because I'm gonna come at it at a different angle.
Exactly.
It's not to make anybody uncomfortable. I just gotta, I gotta have to call a spade a spade. Now, anytime that an African American, any position, quarterback, running back in particular, has not, comes up for a payday, they always got to fight for their money. Christian McCaffrey didn't have to fight. You haven't heard anything about him having to fight for his money.
Right.
Saquon wanted some money, man. They did him dirty. The Giants did him dirty. Lamar, I mean, look what he had to go through to get his money. You just don't see this all the time with white premier players. Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones does not want to give him any money, and I said it last week, probably will not give him any. Dak is probably going to get his money from elsewhere. But other guys, Herbert got his money, no problem. Quietly got his money. These guys, Jared Goff got his money quietly, no problem. But anytime it comes time to pay a black player a significant contributor to the team, it's always a problem. Derrick Henry didn't get his money. Saquon didn't get his money. There's guys out of the league now because they wanted extra money and didn't get their money. The running back that was with the Chargers a while ago, he's got fumbleitis now though too. So I mean that's also that's problematic. But he was trying to get his money and he couldn't get his money. The only one that got their money was Zeke. Zeke got his money. Le'Veon Bell, I think he went about it wrong. I think he would have got his money. He would have got some money. But he's the one that kind of messed up everything when he sat out that year. He didn't play on that $15-16 million franchise tag number because ever since he did that, the running back pay has gone south. And it just when I saw that come across my phone, I was like, wow, $19 million a year. Good. Hey, I'm happy because now he's raising the bar. I don't care who gets it.
Right.
But he's raising the bar. But when you really dig into the contracts, what money he has left, it's $15 million a year, which is still more than what Saquon got, more than what Derrick Henry got, more than any of these running backs that the premier running backs of the last number of years have gotten. You can't tell me that Saquon is not as valuable it wasn't as valuable to the New York Giants as Christian McCaffrey is to the San Francisco 49ers. You can't say that Derrick Henry wasn't as valuable to the Tennessee Titans as Christian McCaffrey is to the San Francisco 49ers.
The only thing I say on that, I mean, you're right, no question. But Saquon got hurt in a contract year, and CMC showed out, right? And so, I mean, that definitely affects getting your money. And it's the Giants, and they.
Derrick Henry, he worked for $2,000, didn't he? Didn't he go for $2 bills? I can't remember.
Didn't he also get hurt though? Derrick Henry had his foot issue. Didn't he also get hurt?
Okay, but Christian McCaffrey had an ankle injury. He got nicked up. It's a nick. That's a nick. That's not an injury. A knee is an injury.
Oh no, his foot issue was Derrick Henry's foot issue wasn't a nick though. That was a whole offseason recovery injury.
Yeah, no, that ended the season.
It was an offseason recovery.
Well, no, it was the end of the season. That ended his season.
Yeah, and it was crazy because it took he was dominating up to that point.
Yes, he was. He was MVP territory.
He was out injured for 5 weeks before someone took over the rushing leader for the season. So I mean, he was killing it.
Yeah, he was killing it.
But he was injured. They didn't know how he was going to come back, and yeah, it was a contract year. If you get injured in a contract year, that's rough.
Kirk Cousins is hurt, has an Achilles. But Achilles used to be like, take him out the pasture and put a couple in your head. That's the kind of injuries that an Achilles injury used to be. If you were a horse, they take you out the back and just boop boop, and you'd be done. Because look, we're not going to feed you. You can't win us any trophies, and you're no good to us as far as
we're making global arguments based on the quarterback position, and I think we got to just separate that in their equation. Like they got to be to the side, and then everybody else we can have a conversation about.
That's fine, but I'm just saying.
You can't include Kirk anyway, because he should have been a saint the whole time, because he is doing contract voodoo that no one else can do.
Right. And I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at him not one bit. I'm just saying, he's got a serious injury. Aaron Rodgers is coming off a serious injury.
CMC is like CMC is like it's like the WNBA girl. Like I don't even know. That's got everybody on fire. Like Caitlin, yeah. Clark? Like CMC is like the great white hope. Like because he is the best running back who just happens to also be white. Like I don't think that has anything to do with the equation. He just happens to be white, but he is also that dude. Because James Conner's white. James Conner's white, but he ain't getting the bag. Like,
I guarantee if you do some DNA, if you do one of those 23andMe, I guarantee you there's going to be a little West African in it. I promise you.
Hey, Bo, let me ask you a quick question. Okay, this is pretty interesting. Okay, now I know you're a real true football guy. When you start throwing in the Arena Football League in New Orleans Voodoo, right? They were the name of an Arena Football League team, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're right. Yeah, the original.
Yeah, but I thought you're throwing in voodoo. I'm thinking this guy's following the Arena Football League. Just say you did, so you look even better than you are.
I actually went the Louisiana route, the actual voodoo that happens downtown.
And all of a sudden you went the Louisiana route, and all of a sudden realized
that's the voodoo he needs to get the contracts he's gotten through his career.
All I can say about Kirk Cousins is get me his agent. I don't care about the rest. This guy is smarter than all of us. So good stuff, Mel. And I got to tell you one thing about Mr. Farr here. This guy's one-liners are on fire. He's an this guy, let me tell you, Travis, you and Bo have been around within the last year. I've known Farr for a long, long time, man. And I'm going to tell you, this guy started in my system, and now look what he's turned into. He's a one-lining machine with even some football in him. But no, kidding aside, Mel's been with me a long, long time on a lot of things I've done. But this guy here has become a broadcaster in every sense of the word. Back to the chat room a little bit. So let's go out there and talk about that. Hey, Dusty, let's just set the record straight that Josh and Rocket Scientist are not one anymore is an absolutely complete false statement. Okay. And I can tell you that if you want to privately message it, that's fine. But it's not that they're not wanted. Okay. Especially Rocket Scientist, but he made some major mistakes yesterday that were completely uncalled for, that go against the network standards, and I'm going to leave it at that. All right, back to the chat room. I want to make sure we get everybody out there. So, if you convey that message, Rocket Scientist, we didn't do nothing. He did it to himself. All right. So as we continue, I want to go back to a few chats that were really fantastic. All right, let's go to free. I didn't have a chance to read them, but Candy did a good job displaying them. Thanks for a very informative and entertaining show, guys. Have a great evening. And you know what, Wardell? Mel got Tom Brady deflated. Well, I don't know about that, but I guess it's one for some interpretation there. Let's keep it rolling. He was on my fantasy team that year. I'm sitting to see where this is going. Caffrey deserves every penny of this new deal. Well, he got it. So, and I mentioned the Rocket Scientist and Josh, and they're out of time out. They are on a time out. Dusty, Robert, you're more than welcome to clarify my position on that, but I think everybody knows by now that we don't ever put anything where they're not wanted, but there has to be certain standards for which we talk in the chat room that are not demeaning in any way, shape, or form. And because we feel that, right, Bo and Travis and Mel, our goal is to make sure that we try to do everything in good faith is all we do, and give everybody an opportunity to express themselves, as long as there's integrity behind what they're saying and it's not defaming or and so forth. So I just want to get that record clear. So, all right, Travis, with that said, go ahead. What's your parting shot?
My parting shot is probably we're gonna talk about CJ Stroud. I'm a fan of CJ being himself because it's a lot better to me than what Russell Wilson was doing. Out in these streets, basically pretending to be someone. Like I don't like it when Russell Wilson did it. I didn't like it when JJ Watt did it. I'm consistent about wanting guys to be their true selves and versus what they want people to believe they are. And I say that to say I'm happy to see him out in the media, out in these barbershops, out in these streets, on all these different podcasts, saying exactly how he feels. However, I am also saying sometimes people in the barbershop need to shut up. Like sometimes people in the barbershop don't need to say what everything that's on their mind. And sometimes all right, calm down. Like when someone says, I don't know, this little third string dude that from his high school was better than Michael Jordan. Like, bro, no, like let that's it. That's enough. It's a wrap. Like and when you're in the barbershop, you can just kind of shut the door
You
on that
didn't like
conversation.
his Rogers comparison.
Yeah. So he said a lot of things this offseason in these different media availabilities that he's had, all the different podcast shows, etc. And he was talking trash about the Colts more recently this past week on, I believe it was like something a millions worth of game podcast about how he basically destroyed the Colts and the two games that he had in the previous season. Meanwhile, in the first game of the Colts played against the Texans, they were destroying the Texans. Like they ended up getting a lot of like garbage yards and things of that nature, but it was not a good game for him whatsoever. And it's kind of one of those things like, bro, there's film out here. Like, bro, we can hear you. Like there's evidence, right? The tape don't lie. Like it's kind of one of those things. And so I do question whether or not he's writing a check that his ass can't cash. And that's a real question right now because they played the fourth easiest strength of schedule last year, per win probability from Vegas, and now they have the fifth hardest schedule this upcoming season.
Right.
So he's putting a lot of material. He's putting a lot of stuff, a lot of locker room material out there over this past off season. And hey, I understand these guys are the 1% of the 1%. Sometimes you're gonna feel yourself, but maybe not willingly put it out
Baker
there.
Mayfield did the same thing, didn't he? Started telling a whole bunch of. Well, it was Justin Fields, who came out talking about after the first preseason game, that he didn't see much difference. Didn't see much different in the speed.
Mm-hmm.
And once he got to the regular season, guys remember that. Oh, okay, all right, we got you. Don't worry about it.
It's already going to be hard enough just on going from a fourth place schedule to a first place schedule. Now you giving all this additional, you putting gas on it, man.
Plus, teams, they see you now. They know what your tendencies are. They know, they know a lot more about you now than what they did before. You're kind of unknown. Nobody was really concerned about you. You're a rookie. Whatever you did, they felt it was a bonus. Yeah, he had a great year. He went out there and had a great year. But now guys are going to scheme for him. And now we're going to say, okay, let's see how he reacts under pressure. Let's get some pressure in his face, especially up the middle. Let's see how he responds to that. So yeah, it's not going to be a cakewalk his second year around. Now, once he gets to be like Aaron Rodgers and where Tom Brady was, and yeah, you can go ahead and say those things, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't give teams bulletin board material. That's not how I would approach it.
No, in the words of Bomani Jones, these are athletes. They already crazy. Like they make up reasons to be slighted already. Like they need that drive and that extra little gear. So you giving them actual things that you actually said.
Yeah, them guys are big, man. So you're putting your offensive lineman in a bad position. You're putting your running back in a bad position because these guys are coming in with bad intentions. Hey, man, you said that. I didn't say that. Hey, you block this guy.
Right. God bless you. Good luck.
Yeah, no, that's the dangerous thing about feeling yourself is some other people are probably going to start feeling you too.
Well, he's writing checks that other people got to cash though. That's the biggest part about that. Other people have to block for him. He's not a defensive lineman talking this trash. He's not a DB. He's not someone who tackles for a living. He is the one who gets hit. Yep. Bro, that's different. That's
let's go to the chat room. Let's go to the chat room real quick. I like Robert Ordahl comment. It will be interesting to see how his big personality clashes with Diggs. So there you go. Good point, Robert.
I don't think he has a big personality. It's just how he's going to deal with him. I mean, Josh Allen is a different type of, he was a veteran.
Right.
I mean, it's a contract year for Diggs though, right? They restructured it, so this is a payday year for him. So he's going to come to ball out.
If somebody pays him, God bless whoever pays him. But I mean, I wouldn't be paying no agent wide receiver.
Oh, no. And they're not going to. Like, this is a 1-year rental for them.
Well, I get that, but I'm just saying, you're saying it's a contract here. I mean,
Somebody's got to pay him, right? Exactly.
he's not going to get 35 million. He's not going to get 30 million a year. He'll be lucky to get 15.
Some bad team will offer him some money.
Yeah, I think when you put this whole thing to bed, though, is that some of these guys have to find the reality check that when they're actually on the open market, they're not as worth as they think they are. Part of that might be due to the agent. Part of that begin to do with them. So it'll be interesting to see how it all does play out. Good point, though, Rob.
Y'all got way less confidence in this thing than I do, because I feel like these checks are unlimited.
I'm not.
Calvin Ridley got 23 million this past year. He's less than a year younger than Diggs.
Oh, Diggs is going to get paid.
Yeah, Diggs going to get paid, bro.
He's
25, 27.
No question.
Yeah,
no question.
Like I said,
I wouldn't do it, though, because he becomes a head case. Like, he's good for a year or two. Like, I wouldn't sign him to a long-term deal, because we've seen what that looks like twice, right? With the Vikings, fell apart, attitude problem. With the Bills, falls apart, attitude problem. I mean, they just straight ate money to get you out the building. So if you're another team looking at this, they restructure this deal. He's essentially on a 1-year thing. If you're another team even contemplating it, you're like, yeah, I'll give you 2 years tops.
You better be a good team.
Well, you know what? It's interesting. No, and you know what? That's a good point. I mean, you find out what,
you got to find out
Carolina.
See, he's in a position right now. He's made some money. So really, what are you playing for? Are you playing for more money, or are you playing to win a chip?
He doesn't even care about that. He wants touches.
Yeah.
He wants the ball all the time. I bet he would take a discount.
I mean, touches at what expense?
Excuse me.
I think he's a stat chaser, honestly.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
So you think he'll go out for the vet minimum just to go out there and catch 150 balls?
I don't think he would do that.
No.
Like, he's about the money. He's about the money, but the thing is
he's gonna go. So you're saying he's not trying to get a championship. He just wants to get paid.
He is that dude that is happier in a loss with a 100-yard game.
Got you.
Than with a 2-catch game where he's got 30 yards, but they won.
I understand.
If you're going to bring that up,
at his point in his career, he should be chasing chips. He shouldn't be chasing stats.
Exactly.
But if you guys are going to bring that one up, I'll just tell you this, okay? Dan Marino was the same way. Once Jimmy Johnson came there and he wanted to run the ball, and all that Jimmy did was win 2 championships and should have won the third if that third one wasn't gift wrapped to Barry Switzer. Dan Marino was there chasing numbers with Don Shula. I know I was down here for at least the first year or two of the whole thing. Then you can make that comparison.
That would have worked for Marino if they ever gave him a defense.
Marino was old at that time.
Hold on. Now we're talking hypotheticals. I can tell you right now, Jimmy Johnson wanted to take the same formula that he had in Dallas. Well, hold on, Mel. He wanted to take, it's okay. I love it when you're like this. I really, really do. I mean, I'm telling you, this is great. I mean, let me see how far this guy come. I'm proud of him. So, but think about it, Mel. I mean, Dan Marino was a stat chaser, but to his credit, though, the way he got his stats is he had the best quick release I have ever seen. He really did. And not only that, Dan Marino can go out there and avoid his sack because of that release and didn't put his team. I thought when he retired that 60,000 number that he had was never going to be broken until welcome to the new NFL. Danny's sliding down the stat chart. But in my opinion, Dan Marino, to me, when it came to stats, his were legitimate because he had the certain mechanics there to avoid the sack and get that ball out quick. And the fact that this guy dropped into the 20s and Don Shula had a gift handed to him was even better. So I have nothing but the utmost respect for Dan Marino. I really do.
So, but Dan wanted to win. Like, he wasn't throwing for the sake of throwing.
They don't tell me that with Jimmy Johnson.
The team was built around Dan Marino's right arm.
For sure. And
it wasn't Don Shula was
there. Weren't running like where they didn't have to try and keep up.
Well, it wasn't Don Shula was there until Jimmy Johnson wanted to have a balanced attack. I mean, I get your point. I really, really do. I promise you I do. But, I've been around the Dolphins for a while. I haven't been around them lately. But I remember when Dan was there, and I'm going to tell you, Don Shula, here's the thing that people have to understand. If you don't know much about Don Shula, back when I was in the 80s working for a place called the Hallandale Digest, I hung around the Dolphins a lot and Don Shula. And the one thing Don Shula told me is his players are there and he plays to their strengths. And that validates why Dan Marino, I'm talking about, these came from Shula, not me. Okay, I'm sitting in his office with another guy. It's a rainy day out there over at Biscayne College, which is where the Dolphins had gone out there and trained. And I asked him a question because let's face it, when you're a young guy like me, who's like 19 years old and weighs a whole lot less than I do now, okay, I didn't know what a Big Mac was versus what they are now. I don't know. I haven't had one in a couple of years. But Don Shula told me the same thing because, when you're a young guy like me, you're trying to get advice for life. And who better to get it than Don Shula, right? And that's what he told me. I cater to people's strengths, which is why Dan Marino got to throw as long as he wanted.
So I guess the big disparity between the two of them is Dan wasn't like, he wanted to win, right? Like that was his ultimate goal. If
Right.
they would have came in and been like, you know what, you're not throwing a lot today, but we're going to win games, Dan Marino would have been fine with that. Diggs, on the other hand, would rather lose and get his touches and yards. So that is wildly different.
It
Like,
also helps
it
that
is.
he's in Houston without taxes. So he says 22 million is like 35 in Boston or whatever.
Yeah,
Bo,
true.
Bo,
But,
it
I mean,
is.
that's the ultimate me guy right there.
Yeah, but you know what? Bo, it is. But there's one piece of the puzzle I want you to please try to add. And I'm okay with where you're at with this. Don't get me wrong. Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson was and obviously, but this will be a good topic down the road as well. Maybe I'll find a Miami
matter
Dolphin.
for Diggs. We've seen him in multiple systems. He's shown who he is.
Right. Well, that's true. I mean, to Dan's credit, he played his entire career with the Miami Dolphins, and he did under two coaches, and they had a lot of success getting in the playoffs when he was there.
They didn't have
a
free
lot of
agency
it under.
back then.
What's that?
They didn't have free agency back then.
That's true. But again, it's just such a great conversation that we can have talking about Diggs, and I'm bringing up Dan Marino of all people, but it's still a great conversation to get into. So you know what, though? I'm going to segue into my parting shot now that you guys did an awesome job leading me to it, okay? And that's this. We'll talk about the Miami Dolphins, and here's what I got to say about it. Miami Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa are negotiating a new contract. While I'd like to see Tua get paid, let's keep in mind that he's only played one entire season, and that was 17 games in 2023. I think there should be an escalator clause for games paid, though I know it won't happen. All right, well, that's my opinion. Tua certainly is their franchise quarterback, and I'm glad he got 17 in. At least nobody will question his durability about last year. Of course, it doesn't hurt. He has 9 million different targets now to help him a little bit. So you know what? I've said my piece. I think he should get paid a lot of money, but have a few incentives in games and all. That's my opinion. You guys are free to talk about it and take it where you want.
I like the offense that they have. I think the offense that they have is great. Like as far as the scheme is concerned, I don't love Tua as a quarterback. I just don't. I'm not going to BS it. I'm not going to pretend that is the case. And because of knowing that he's going to make around that same range of Trevor Lawrence money, basically whoever signs first, that is a little concerning. Like you are, because you're getting to the basically either setting a new market as far as the quarterback market is concerned, or you're it's a smidge below that. And that much money for a quarterback who has deficiencies for me is problematic. I'm just going to keep it honest.
I agree.
But that's where we are. That's the price is the price, man.
All right, back to the chat room real quick. I love Dusty and Braden. Jesse, I want to be on the show sometime, man. All you got to do is reach out to me and I'll find a place to put you. No problem. I like people that can talk sports. Love it. About to get paid 1 year. 2, pretty common sense. You're right there, Rob. So
yeah,
hey,
love might get that Daniel Jones or that Blake Bortles contract. We'll see.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about Jordan Love right now, but we don't have the time to address them. Maybe perhaps next week or so when we get more detail into QBs. Bo, Mel, anything you want to add to my Tua parting shot?
No, sir.
He's had one good year. Let's see if he can back that thing up.
Yeah, I'd like to,
It's a wait and see thing. We saw what happened with DJ, right?
right. Yeah, I'd like to see 2 good years, and I'd feel better about them. I think the locals would too. So, with that said, we are at the end of the line here, or not really, because a lot of people have to let everybody know how they get a hold of themselves. We're going to lead off with football talk. Go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, so you can find me here every Tuesday night, and of course on my YouTube channel at Football-Talk, all the socials at Football Talk with Bo, and of course on Roku TV 5 days a week.
Beautiful. All right, Travis.
Yep. You can find all my writings covering the Jacksonville Jaguars at bigcatcountry.com. You can also find me on the Jacksonville Jaguars coverage for our podcast, the Do or Die with Jaguars podcast. That's on Fridays at 11 a.m., wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to my socials, Travis D. Holmes on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Also on YouTube, Travis D. Holmes, Jaguars Daily. And as always, I had a great conversation with you guys. Appreciate you.
I'm telling you guys are my dream team on here. And when we do bring Coach Bono, he's the only one that'll be qualified for the fifth person. It'll be great. We hope Coach Bono's having a good time on vacation. I think he's at Cancun, Bo.
He's in Cancun. He's having a good time.
I don't got that thunderclapping somewhere. Okay, man. Live your
All
life.
right, we got a Michael Barber sighting here. Go Jaguars and Trav, totally worth the killer flow. All right, well, it's always good to see new people in here. All right, Mel, let them know how they can get a hold of you.
Find me all the social media at Melfar Jr. And you can follow what we have going on here in Atlanta and also up in Detroit at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
Okay, Candy, take over. I think I'm losing my voice. Of course, nobody would ever believe it. At least it's at the end of the show, not the beginning, or I'd be in trouble. But go ahead.
You losing your voice? Come on. None of these people believe that. But
That's probably true.
That was for Dragon Dan Marino.
You know what, Bo? I have to admit, you're probably right about that one. And so I'm going to put you in the GMTA category. That the Dan Marino one did stretch me out a little bit with too. So, hey, I'm not afraid to admit this stuff. I'm really not. I mean, he's a heck of a quarterback. He's one of the best I've ever seen in my time. We could do a show on the 12 best active ones, and then we could do a show on the best of all time and come up with 15 or 20. That would take a full hour easily. All right, Candy, go ahead before I lose it again for the second time.
okay, if you see that red subscribe button, hit it, like us, share us with all your people. Monday nights we talk baseball. Tuesday nights we talk football. Wednesday nights we talk all sports. And Scott has a new show on nofilter.net called the Motor City Mad Mouse Show, where he interviews one-on-one. This week's guest is Jack Perconte. And Scott, who is Jack Perconte?
Jack Perconte is a former second baseman for the Los Angeles Dodgers who earned a championship ring for the Dodgers in '81. But I think the biggest thing about Jack, which I like about him, is here's a guy who had a career lasted 5 years. He's the author of 4 books and runs in a lot of marathons. So if you can join me on No Filter Network tomorrow, please do so. Jack's a good guy, and I'm going to be having a lot of top-notch guests on there as well. Mel's already made it. Coach Bono's made it. And I can tell you right now, Bo, it's a matter of time before you get on there. If you work your Wednesday schedule or Thursday schedule to accommodate a little time. Travis, you intrigue me all the time. It's not a matter of if you get on, it's a matter of when you get on. So there you go. Keep going, Candy. I really love that show, the Motor City Mad Mouse Show. Keep it rolling, Can.
And what time is that on tomorrow night that they can
That's gonna
catch
be
it
on at-
NoFilter.net?
Yeah, that'll be on at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time. No Filter Net on the No Filter Network.
Perfect. If you like to listen to the podcast, you can listen to all of our shows, South Florida Tribune, and we are on, oh my goodness, all the broadcasting network, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Geo7, all of them, wherever you get your podcasts. Listen, look for us, listen. But if you want to read a book, a good book that talks about how the media has changed over the 40 plus years Scott has been in the business. And, he says he doesn't losing his voice right now. Well, he didn't lose it in the book. He wrote all kinds of stories. Go see some of his pictures. There is a picture of him and young Muhammad Ali. Let's see what else, Scott. Oh, go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can read Scott's writings, my pictures, George Eichhorn writes. There's a bunch of other people that writes. We get quotes from the Jags, the Dolphins, the Lions. Go see what else is on there. We have some college
yeah.
football teams
Right.
locally that are up on the website. If you want to sponsor a show or advertise on the show, call Scott 954-304-4941. If I missed anything or you missed anything, it's been scrolling on the bottom throughout the show. So you can always go back and watch it and look for what I missed or you missed. Thanks for that station identification. Back to you, Scott.
You're very welcome, Katie. Well, on Twitter, we are at Tribune South there. Michael Barber, all I can tell you, my friend, it's all good. I love your comments in there. And if you could do us a favor, Michael, please, if you haven't already, please go out there and subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see a lot of our shows. And for those that consist, and I'm going to put this out there now, for a lot of you individuals that are in the chat room a lot, there's always a spot on any of one of our shows. All you need to do is just get a hold of us. And you can do that at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And I will guarantee you that that promise I make will become a reality. Guys like,
No.
you know, the one Robert Wardell, I would love to see you on for sure. But that's out there to everybody. As long as you come out with intentions, good intentions, integrity, I promise you will. This is an experience you'll enjoy. And if you're in the broadcasting business, this is just another clip that you'll be able to impress another potential employer with.
And Michael's sharp, just FYI. Like, I've had a lot of interaction with Michael over the last few months, and he's super sharp.
Yeah, well, I got news for you. Judging by his comments, I definitely believe you. So, Michael, if you would kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel, great. And of course, Travis is on here every Tuesday night. We appreciate everything in the chat room and everything about what all you got folks brought to the broadcast. So, meanwhile, I'd love to keep it going, but these guys got to get to bed. Of course, maybe Bo doesn't because only 3 hours shorter.
That's right. It's only 6:45 here.
Mel might be there, so
another show.
But meanwhile, Michael Barber, welcome to the family, my friend. But meanwhile, on behalf of Mel Farr Jr., Bo Crouch, and Travis Holmes, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. We will see you next Tuesday night. Good night, everybody, and thanks a lot for joining us.